What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the weekly Q&A. Our air conditioning is still out, but we got a window unit that's in our bedroom down the hall, and we have a bunch of fans going in our house. So if you hear that in the background, that's what that is. If we start sweating, that's why, because we did close off my office. The ring light is on. Like, it's probably going to start getting hot.
Oh, God, now I'm hot. Now it's really hot in here.
But we're going to muscle through.
It's going to get steamy in here.
Yeah, we're going to get really, really steamy in the Q&A, but not in the fun way. And we also need to send a shout out and a thank you to Brian Kinney, who joined our Patreon at the Jedi Master level this past week. So thank you so much, Brian.
To start, we're combining two questions into one because Robert Miller asks if we'll see Qui-Gon in the final episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Seth Wyatt wants to know if we'll get an Ahsoka or Satine reference.
I figured this is a good time to just do our final Kenobi predictions before the finale episode. So let's start with Qui-Gon Jinn. Chances of him appearing, or even his voice or something, some sort of interaction between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
High chance. I say very high chance because we got a call out. We saw Obi-Wan literally trying to reach out to Qui-Gon in previous episodes. So I would feel a little sad if we didn't get an answer to that.
Yeah, I totally agreed. I'm going like 99% that's happening. Just because obviously there's a chance that it won't. But the way that it was brought up in the previously on, the whole prequel summary that they talked about, and how Qui-Gon has learned to retain his consciousness and you can communicate with him. And then we see Obi-Wan trying to communicate with him. He hasn't done that in a couple episodes, I don't think.
He's a little busy. He's had some stuff to do.
I think he did it he reached out in episodes 1, 2, and 3. And we haven't seen him do that in 4 and 5, I don't think. But yeah, that seems like Chekhov's Force Ghost. That if you mention a Force Ghost in episode 1, it's going to appear in the third act.
Maybe it'll be like Beetlejuice, and once we get the third time, Qui-Gon will appear and he'll have a sick, like, striped black and white suit on. And
we can only hope. You're like, Qui-Gon, why aren't you in your robes? He's like, check out my drip, Obi-Wan.
Like, I have a new job now, and it's doing whatever this is.
When you become a Force Ghost, you become Beetlejuice as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, Qui-Gon to me is like a given. I think it will represent Ben Kenobi becoming Obi-Wan Kenobi again, finding balance in the Force. There's a reason he wasn't able to communicate with Qui-Gon at the start. It's because his head was stuck in the past, but he is facing his fears. He's growing over that. When we get to the end of the series, yeah, it might be the final scene or something, but I think we will see Liam Neeson returning as Qui-Gon Jinn, at least a voice like he was in the Clone Wars, but I think full-on Force Ghost.
Yeah, I can't remember when I talked about this. It was on one of our live streams for Kenobi, but I think there's going to be a moment where, kind of like referencing back to episode 1 when they're about to fight Maul, and Qui-Gon takes a minute to like sit, close his eyes, gather his thoughts, and that's, I think Kenobi will get to a moment like that, and instead of pacing and, doing what he did back then, he'll sit and have a moment just like Qui-Gon. And then Qui-Gon will be like, all right, you're ready now to see me in all my glory. We can finally have this talk because you've reached the moment that I've been waiting for you to reach.
Yeah, I do think that would be a really cool parallel to show Obi-Wan's growth, because we, in part 5, kind of covered how Darth Vader has not grown since his time in training. And that is a big thing in Star Wars. It's a big thing with Obi-Wan and the duel with Maul, and the fact that Maul is the same person he was in The Phantom Menace. So showing how Obi-Wan has grown since The Phantom Menace and has grown kind of into his master, I think that would be very poetic. But let's jump into other characters. Do we think we're going to get any references to Ahsoka or Satine or more of Quinlan Vos or anything like that?
I'm going to say no, just because I feel like we don't have time for any of that. We've got one episode left to kind of wrap everything up. I kind of would prefer it if this episode were kind of just all Obi-Wan and Vader related. Name drops at this point in the game seem kind of pointless, but I don't know. I mean, there's potential of Vader name dropping Ahsoka, or at least mentioning the fact that he once had a Padawan. I don't know.
I agree with you. I think it's too late.
Satine, I don't think so. It's definitely too late to bring her up into any of this.
In the final episode, it's just like, I don't know. You can't do enough with it, I don't think. It's the same way that Cad Bane entered the story of Book of Boba Fett in the second to last episode, and that was a thrilling introduction, and I'm glad that we saw him in live action. But I wish he were a more present antagonist through the rest of the series. And then if you just like drop a bunch of character cameos or name drops or whatever in the final episode, it just seems kind of pointless, like you said.
But I mean, with Cad Bane, like you said, the second to last episode was when he showed up, and then he was kind of there again in the finale. So if we were going to get any cameos, I think we would have seen them in the second to last episode of Obi-Wan, so that it wasn't such a big surprise. And especially with Satine, I feel like a lot of the casual viewers would be really confused at the idea of Obi-Wan once having somewhat of a girlfriend or a love life. Like, I don't see a reason to bring that up right now.
I agree. And even Ahsoka, even though that is a familiar character for live action fans now, dropping that she was Anakin's Padawan, that seems like a lot, only because there's going to be so much else happening. And that's the thing. It's like there's so much left to do, I feel like, in this last episode. And I don't know how they're going to get it all done, much less have time to do name drops.
Well, this is so much about, like we talked about, Obi-Wan and Vader, but more so, like, it's also very much about Leia and Luke. And I don't think, like, I feel like if they brought up Ahsoka, that might take some of the attention away from the fact that this is all about Leia and Luke right now. Yeah,
I agree with that. And there's also Reva, whatever is going to be happening with her, and finding out about some children on Tatooine, or a child, or whatever. We have to deal with all that as well. So, like, there's that. There's Obi-Wan is going to fight Vader again, I assume. I also want to see him try to reach out to Anakin and have that moment of Obi-Wan once thought as you did. So, like, there are things that I am just hoping to see, and I would rather see that than an Ahsoka cameo, for example.
Lady Jane asks if we think Reva is redeemable.
Yes.
Yes.
That's the question that so many people ask, and it's like, if Darth Vader is redeemable, almost anyone in the galaxy is redeemable.
Yes. And that's kind of what Star Wars is about. A lot of Star Wars is all about redemption. We talked about this a little bit in our live podcast at Celebration before we had seen any Obi-Wan episodes, and I was kind of like, I really dig dark side characters who are just like relentlessly dark side. So I was kind of looking forward to Reva being someone who would be irredeemable. But now that we've gotten her story, I absolutely think she will be redeemed.
Yeah, I think that's
can be.
I think that's where we are headed. My biggest worry about it is that it'll be a repeat of the second sister's story from Fallen Order, where it's like she finds a level of redemption and then dies right away. It's like Star Wars has done that way too many times. If Reva is going to be redeemed, keep her alive and then let her atone, because that is something that is just not explored enough in Star Wars. The best version of it I can think of is in Victory's Price, the Alphabet Squadron book. A character has done terrible things, seeks to make them better, and we get to see like really how that would look in Star Wars. But she was a pilot, not a Force user, and so I think that would be a step further to have Reva come back and then actively work to make the galaxy better. Like Tala said, there are some things you can't forget, but you can fight to make them better. So I think that's where Reva's story is headed.
Yeah, I mean, she's suffered enough right? We saw what happened to her at Order 66. She got stabbed in the gut again, and you bringing up Tala, like, it was really sad to see Tala die, but now that she's gone, she could replace her. Reva could replace Tala, work with the path, and just kind of do that for the rest of her life to atone.
I absolutely think you're right. I mean, we saw Reva reacting to that Jedi symbol in part 3 and kind of learning about this path, and she is just furious that, that wasn't her. She has resentment for these people and these children who got out when she didn't. And so if she can get over that anger, then yeah, she can, instead of doing what she did in part 5 almost, where she was like, well, I'm going to go attack all these children. I'm going to do what Darth Vader did to me. She can break out of that cycle and then, replace Tala and do what she did and fight to make the galaxy better and make sure that doesn't happen to any more kids. I think that is a great future for that character, a good arc. I like that idea a lot.
In honor of Pride Month, Gunn Roswell wants to know which on-screen characters could be suited for LGBTQ plus representation, and Leftist Hominid asks what our favorite example of LGBTQ plus inclusivity in Star Wars has been so far.
Yeah, and these were two questions I felt like it was appropriate to combine because Leftist points out that the books and comics have had a decent amount of representation, and Gunn Roswell points out that on screen has been sorely lacking when you compare the two mediums. So for on screen, for a character that already exists, I think there are plenty of options, honestly. There are a lot of characters that their sexuality hasn't been explored.
Yeah, and I hope that they get more comfortable with doing this, obviously, but it's so easy for Star Wars to just kind of like sweep that stuff under the rug and be like, oh yeah, it's there, it's just not on screen.
It's very, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a Star Wars thing. It is a movie
Disney
thing. It's a Disney thing. It's just an on-screen thing where all movie studios kind of want to play it straight down the middle, and that's what they do. And they try not to rock the boat or anything, as if that is rocking the boat. I guess it is for some people, but they should just do it.
Yeah. I mean, to give an example, because I love the sequel trilogy so much, I think the first names that come to mind are Poe and Finn.
Yeah, I think that is the go-to. I mean, their bromance is so strong. I loved their introduction together when they're just becoming best friends immediately. And if they had continued down that path and actually confirmed it, it would not have bugged me at all. Like, I would love to see their bromance become romance.
But that's the thing, like, just the fact that the term bromance gets brought up so much, like, it doesn't have to be bromance, it could just be romance.
Yeah, agreed.
And I feel like that's one of the reasons, if not the main reason, why Oscar Isaac has said, like, I don't want to do any more of Poe until we can address, who he really is.
And, I mean, they have gone into, even in The Rise of Skywalker, they gave him those moments with Zori Bliss, which he can be bisexual, anything, whatever. Like, that's kind of the thing. I was going to bring up Lando because, they said off-screen that he's pansexual, and to me in the Star Wars universe, doesn't that make sense for like a lot of characters to be that way?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Lando is another character that's like confirmed, but not really.
They
like
play it
not
off
in a big way.
They try to play it off like swagger, same thing, that he's got all these like bromances throughout his life, but yeah, it would be really nice to get some confirmation about these characters having relationships that aren't straight.
And that, to me, Lando, that just makes sense. Like, with all of the swagger and all of the charm. Yeah, like, I buy it. He could charm me. Like, that cape, that mustache, come on.
Come on.
But let's jump into the books and comics and talk about some of our favorite moments or characters that have been given that representation. I wanted to bring up Taka from Last Shot because that was just like a growing moment for me. Daniel Jose Older wrote this character who is non-binary, and the pronouns of them and they and their popping up confused me at first. And I was like, what is going on with this character? And I Googled it and I was like, oh. So Taka always jumps into my head as one of the reasons why representation is important, because I think the most important reason is for people to get to see themselves in Star Wars, but it also is a way to educate people who just are ignorant up until that point, and I was one of them.
One of the most recent books that I read was Midnight Horizon, and so this question made me think of Cantum Psi. I really loved their story, and they are a non-binary character. Also, their story ties into Lula, and then Lula and Zim. Obviously, a lot of people love their relationship and those characters and how they're portrayed in the books and the comics, so I think those are some really great examples. Basically, all of the High Republic is gay, and we love it.
And I was going to point out Midnight Horizon, also by Daniel Jose Older.
Yeah.
And Lula and Zine's story is largely told in the High Republic Adventures by Daniel Jose Older. But I want to say all of the High Republic authors have done a lot for inclusivity.
Yes. Another couple that just randomly popped in my head when I was thinking of High Republic are the Santecas.
Oh, yeah.
Like the older... It reminds me of the movie Birdcage, like just like the older, rich, kind of like fancy gay couple in Star Wars, and
they live on Naboo.
They live on Naboo. They're everything in their house is like cashmere and some sort of velvet. I just think that they are a really interesting addition to Star Wars as part of this like really rich family that's well known for what they've done in that time period, and I would like to know more about their life and their relationship.
And I feel like we can't talk about this without bringing up Dr. Aphra, who is just a fantastic character, one of my favorite Star Wars comic series. It was one of those that surprised me how much I loved it when they announced it, that they were doing a comic series surrounding her. I was like, really? Her from the Darth Vader comic? And then, like, just the exploration of ancient Star Wars stuff through the eyes of this disaster of an archaeologist is so much fun. Mm-hmm. But I think it's her first kiss with Magna Tolvan, who was an antagonist of the comic for a while, who comes around and joins the rebellion eventually. But that panel, I just remember like turning the page and seeing that, and it's a beautiful piece of artwork. I'll try to find it and throw it up on screen. But yeah, the current run by Alyssa Wong, I almost wanted to call her Crash Wong. That's her Twitter handle. But that run that's going on right now is so much fun. It's so crazy, and I can't recommend the Dr. Aphra comics enough.
In honor of Pride Month, we want to give a special shout out to just some of the LGBTQ plus Star Wars content creators out in the community that we have worked with and know. Some of them are Pink Milk, That Gay Jedi, Marie Wilson, Star Wars Music Minute, Triad of the Force, Geeky Waffle Network, Sithy Minutes, The Galactic Podcast, Sisters with Sabers, Force Friends Rewatch,
Followers of the Force, Friends of the Force, Lousy Beautiful Town, Rogue Podron, Clashing Sabers, I Rebel, Kessel Run Weekly, J Guys and Jedi, Lipstick and Lightsabers, Blip Bloppity Bloop, RuPalp's Pod Race, Star Wars Editor, and there are many more, but we put links to all of those creators' works down in the description, so please do go check them out.
Check them out, support them, give them reviews on iTunes and Spotify, wherever they create content, and yeah, just help support these content creators because they're great and we love them. On to YouTube questions. Josh Sedgwick asks if Quinlan Vos could appear in Jedi Survivor to help train Cal more in psychometry.
I think that we had talked about Quinlan being in Survivor already before, but that was something that I think just slipped my mind. So it's a good point that both Cal and Quinlan Vos are gifted in psychometry. I don't know exactly how you say that power. I've always said psychometry, but...
It's one of those words where you start reading it out loud and you're like, well, that's wrong, but it's too late now.
but I'm going in.
I'm going full in.
But yeah, I really like that idea. And I think that would make for some fun gameplay mechanics of kind of investigating something together, because that's how Quinlan Vos uses his ability. In Fallen Order, it's mostly just an excuse to get collectibles and, you know, get extra narrative by finding objects, touching them, and feeling their echo in the Force. But to use it in a more active way, I think would be really cool. And to go on a little quest with Quinlan.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like the way that sounds
Quest
too.
with Quinlan.
Yeah, a little Quinlan quest. And see him investigating something and him being like, go check that thing out over there. And like you work together to piece together a crime scene, or not a crime scene, but I don't know, something. That idea excites me, feels new and interesting.
I mean, we kind of already saw it in Jedi Fallen Order, where there were certain places where you could go in the game and have these like flashbacks and kind of use the Force to see more of the story of that area. So I think from a gaming perspective, I think this is a great way to, like have Cal learn new abilities or kind of level up his ability that he's got already. And Quinlan would be a great character to be there to teach him how to do that. And plus, you know, Jedi survivor, that's literally what he is, Quinlan, as a character. He's a Jedi survivor, so. And
we have that confirmation that he is alive at the time of this next game's era.
Matt Thornton wants to know if Bo-Katan was unable to keep the Darksaber because she has yet to fully confront her demons.
I think that is a good point. I mean, she's chalking it up to a curse right now, or maybe all of Mandalore is, but yeah, seeing how Din was wielding it and that it was heavy, Bo-Katan didn't really seem to have that problem in Star Wars Rebels. You know, she ignites it like that, holds it up just fine. But still, the idea that she wasn't able to hold it because she wasn't fully worthy of it, I like that. Yeah, she wasn't a great person in the Clone Wars. She started to have that redemption arc. This is kind of like what we were talking about with Reva. Bo-Katan's not a Force user, but still, she's done bad things. She is becoming better, but has she fully confronted what she's done, accepted responsibility for, I don't know, slaughtering a village in the Clone Wars Season 4?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, I do think that we should maybe see some atonement for it.
Yeah, her story is very up and down, because when we first are introduced to her, we're kind of like, ooh, she's doing some questionable stuff, and then, you know, she gets a little bit better, and now she's kind of like dipping back down, getting into, you know, those old ways. So yeah, I could see the fact that the Darksaber isn't necessarily heavy for her because she is completely dedicated to whatever it is at that moment. Whereas Din, it's kind of like, I don't know, I don't want this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think we'll see a lot more of her in the third season. And I would love to see her, yes, confront some of those demons, atone for some of the stuff that she's done. I just want to see her character come full circle and, you know, realize that she doesn't have to do things in such an extreme way.
I think it's important, the distinction you made, I really like that, yeah, it wasn't heavy for her because, yeah, she believed in what she was doing and she believed it was hers, whereas Din is like, I don't want this responsibility.
Same for Paz Vizsla.
Yeah. So Bo-Katan believes it is her right, and I don't think there's any real curse. I don't think that there's any real in-universe reason that she lost the Darksaber other than Mandalore was attacked, it fell, and it was probably taken from her. But thematically, I do like the more metaphorical idea that she lost it because she wasn't worthy of it.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to see her character end up like Saw Gerrera's character, where we see him kind of throughout the series, but he just gets more and more extreme, and then he kind of goes out by saying, "There's nothing left of me," basically, and he can't be saved. So I don't want to see Bo-Katan end up like that. 00 asks how we think the Obi-Wan show will make sense of the line, "When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master."
I think there are multiple interpretations of this. I'm also planning on doing a video of basically like revisiting A New Hope now that we've seen Obi-Wan Kenobi, and does it all still line up perfectly? Probably not, but how we look at that. Anyway, for this line, I think that first we could look at it as in, when I left you, when I left the Jedi Order, I was but the learner, an apprentice. I think that works fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was already kind of having that rationale in my head before we saw part 5. But then we saw part 5 and we got those flashbacks, and Obi-Wan says, until you get past your blind desire to win and to prove yourself, until you overcome that, a Padawan you will still be. And then we see that and we cut to Vader's face as he lets Obi-Wan go because of his just like tunnel vision.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in that moment, he's probably thinking about how he hasn't overcome that yet.
Yeah, I like the idea of this going back all the way back to literally Anakin leaving in the prequels, and before he became Darth Vader, and looking at it like that. But I also just think that this is a line of passion in A New Hope, and Vader is so dramatic that of course he's gonna say something like that. And it also sounds like a line from someone who's so overconfident that they're going to win this fight that they're just like, I'm the master now and you're going down. Like, I'm not playing around this time, basically. I wouldn't read too far into it.
Honestly, that's the answer. I mean, who knows how long Vader was standing there with his lightsaber, just like waiting for Obi-Wan to come around the corner.
Yeah.
He was just sitting there like muttering, like, what am I going to say? How do I just really burn him the way he burned me?
Yeah.
I'm going to hit him hard. I'm going to hit him good. And then he said that. He's just smack talking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he was sitting there like, does that exactly make sense about the last time that we met? I don't know. It's like, this is a character in the universe. They're not worried about canon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, have we all ever said something that wasn't 100% correct to our past?
Never.
You're always right all the time. That's correct.
Michael Caddick wants to know if the First Order ever used Fortress Inquisitorius.
That's interesting. I'm gonna assume no, but as Michael points out, and as several other people have pointed out, the tomb full of encased Jedi, could that be used for some sort of experimentation? Could it build towards Snoke or anything like that? Sure, possibly.
Yeah, it's possible. I almost thought that we would see this happen in this show. It might be too late for it, but I see the fortress flooding and just sinking to the depths of that ocean and dying off completely.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds cool. Like a place that you could explore in the future. I'm not really making any direct connections from it to Snoke right now. I think they were just showing us something grim and dark and sad. And maybe down the line, it's fully an option for a Star Wars storyteller to be like, hey, it would be neat. And then they make that connection. I don't think they're trying to plant seeds right now.
Mm-hmm. This isn't really related to the First Order, but it made me think of the scene from Jedi Survivor, the trailer, where he finds that person in the tank, and it, like, the surrounding area looks like somewhere that had been flooded. What if that is like part of that fortress after it had been, attacked and destroyed?
Maybe I think it'd be hilarious if Cal broke in again.
But it wouldn't have to break in, because I think at that point it would have been destroyed and abandoned.
Well, that game is supposed to take place at the same time as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I'm still holding out that in the finale,
it's gonna
Roken and the Roken and the gang is what I like to call them as of just now. I think that they might figure out how to destroy it.
Maybe. For now, I think it's still standing. I agree. I think there might not be enough time to do that. It's also a cool location. I don't really want to say goodbye to it yet.
It floods so easily, though.
Yeah, I know, it really does. They really need to fix those windows.
One little crack.
Who did this? That structural engineer is definitely getting force choked.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all the time we have for questions today. If you want to leave a question for next week's video, just put it in the comments below or sign up for Patreon to join our weekly Q&A discussion. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok.
And as always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.